Good morning students. So in previous class we have seen magnetic force. Magnetic force is given as Q V cross B. And in this we have seen different different cases in magnetic force. The most important case was when the angle between magnetic field and velocity is 90 degree. In that case the force is given by QVB, which will be equals to mv square by r. And from here we have found out the radius of uniform circular motion will be mv by qb, and the time period of circulation will be 2 pi m divided by qb. So this was the time, so the radius of the circle, and this was the time period of the circular motion. Now, after this we have seen Lorentz force. Lorentz force is nothing but the total force. So this is the magnetic force. Lorentz force is total electromagnetic force, which is electric force plus magnetic force. From here in this one also we have seen a special case. In that special case was when the Lorentz force is 0. So Lorentz force will be 0 when the magnitude of electric field is equals to VB sin theta, and the direction of magnetic field is, direction of electric field is opposite to the V cross B. So if these two conditions satisfies, then the Lorentz force will be 0. So we are going to see the application of these two now. So next heading is application of magnetic force. So in application of magnetic force, we will see the first application, which is cyclotron. Now what is the cyclotron? Cyclotron is basically an instrument which we use to accelerate the charge particle. So if you want to, you can mention cyclotron is an instrument which is used to accelerate the charge particle. Remember, here you can only accelerate charge particle from a cyclotron. You cannot you cannot accelerate uncharged particle from the cyclotron. So instrument which accelerate the charges, cyclotron. Next thing is, what is the principle of cyclotron? Now the principle of cyclotron is very simple. Just now we have seen that if the velocity is perpendicular to the magnetic field, the particle moves in a circular motion. So the cyclotron works on the principle that a charge entering the magnetic field at 90 with a velocity perpendicular to the magnetic field undergoes circular motion. So the principle of cyclotron is, if V is perpendicular to B, then the motion will be circular or uniform circular motion. So this is the principle of cyclotron. Now we will see how the cyclotron looks and what are the formulas for cyclotrons. So the actual picture of cyclotron you can Google. I am just going to draw a rough diagram how the cyclotron looks. So in cyclotron you basically have two hollow discs like this. So you have two circular discs, and between these discs there is some gap. So these are the discs, and we are seeing the top view of the cyclotron. So these discs which are D shaped are called as Ds, and these are made up of conducting material. Now at this there is magnetic field in the inward direction. Here also the magnetic field is in inward direction. Again you have two D shaped rings, two D shaped hollow discs, those are called as Ds, and in the Ds there is magnetic field which is perpendicular. So these are the discs like this, and magnetic field is inwards, and these are made up of conducting material, and here you have connected both the Ds with a AC source. Now you have seen in current electricity what is the AC source. AC source is voltage source which changes its direction after regular interval of time. So for some time this disk will be positive, this disk will be negative, and after some time this disk will become positive and this will become negative. So, revise AC source in current electricity. So, you have these, inside the Ds there is magnetic field, and these Ds are connected to a variable, sorry a voltage source, AC voltage source, and the radius of the D you can assume to be capital R. So, now I told you that cyclotron works on the principle of that if the velocity of the particle is perpendicular to the magnetic field, it will do the uniform circular motion. Remember, magnetic field is only present in these two parts, here there is no magnetic field. So, what happens in cyclotron is, initially suppose this D is positive and this D is negative. So, here there will be an electric field which will be in this direction. So, between the D's electric field is present here and here magnetic field is present. So, now what you do is you keep a charge at the center of the cyclotron. Now, when you keep a charge at the center of the cyclotron, suppose the charge is magnitude is q. Now, when the charge is kept stationary and electric field in this direction, the charge will start moving in this direction. So, when the charge is moving in this direction, suppose here voltage difference is V. So, now the charge has moved from 0 potential to V potential. So, you can see when the charge enters at this point, it will have kinetic energy. When it first time enters, the kinetic energy will be Q into V. Again here till this point there is only electric field. So, charge is accelerated in this direction and it acquires a kinetic energy which will be equals to Q into V. Here Q is the charge magnitude and V is the voltage of this AC source. Now, as soon as the particle enters here, you can see that magnetic field is in inward direction and velocity of the particle is in this direction. So, velocity and magnetic field are perpendicular to each other. So, the particle will undergo circular motion. So, the particle goes on a circle like this. I draw a small circle. So, radius of this circle I can write R1. We have seen the formula for radius in different forms. So, I can write this thing as root of 2m into qv divided by qb. So, this is this radius. As you know that when the particle is moving inside the magnetic field, there will be no change in kinetic energy because magnetic field is only present here and magnetic field cannot change the kinetic energy of the particle. So, when the particle again reaches at this point, the particle will have velocity in this direction or it will have kinetic energy which will be equals to q into v and the particle will be moving in this direction. At the same time, as soon as the particle reaches here, we change the direction of this. So, this will become positive and this will become negative. So, now the electric field will also reverse in the direction. So, now electric field will be in this direction. Now, again the charge particle will move from this point to this point, again its kinetic energy is going to increase. So, when it reaches here, I assume the kinetic energy will be Ke2 which will be equals to 2qv, because when the charge particle was here, it had already kinetic energy which was q into v, and when it reaches here, its kinetic energy again increases by a term of q into v. So, now the kinetic energy is 2qv. Again when the particle enters the magnetic field, velocity will be perpendicular to the magnetic field. So, it will undergo a radius. So, it will undergo circular motion and radius of that circle I can write R2 is equals to 2m into 2qv divided by qb. So, here as you can see, as the particle is going from one d to another d, its radius is increasing. Earlier the radius was root of 2m into qv, now the radius is 2m into 2qv. So, here the radius will increase. So, the particle will go like this. Again when the particle comes here, it has kinetic energy which is 2qv and it will be moving like this. At the same time, the AC source will also change its polarity. So, this will become positive and this will become negative. So, again the charge particle will be accelerated in this direction and when it reaches here, its kinetic energy will become 3qv. Then it will undergo another radius which will be R3. Again particle comes here. So, like this. Particle will keep on moving on the radius and we will keep a small hole here through which the charge particle can come out. So, as you can see, as the particle is entering from one d to another d, its radius is keep on increasing, so the path of the particle will be a spiral path. So this path is called as spiral. So now you have to remember the formula for kinetic energy and you have to remember the formula for radiuses. So when the particle starts from here, here the radius is qv, and when it completes one turn and the particle returns here, the kinetic energy is 2 qv. So in one rotation the kinetic energy is increased by 2 qv. So change in kinetic energy in one rotation is equals to q, so 2 into qv. And when the particle is going into the radius, as you can see, the radius is keep on increasing. First radius is r1 is equals to 2m into qv, r2 will be 2m into 2 qv, similarly r3 will be 2m into 3 qv, and so on. And finally when the particle comes out, its radius will be capital R, because we have assumed the radius of cyclotron is capital R, and this will be equals to root of 2m into final kinetic energy divided by qb. So from here you can find what will be the final kinetic energy of the particle when it comes from the cyclotron. So here they will give you the radius of the disk, charge will be given, magnetic field will also be given, and mass of the particle will be given, and you can find the final kinetic energy of the particle when it comes out from the cyclotron. So remember, cyclotron, it's an instrument which accelerates the charged particle. Initially charged particle was stationary, finally the charged particle will have some kinetic energy, and it uses both electric field and magnetic field, but the most important job is done by the magnetic field. So magnetic field changes the direction without changing the kinetic energy. Next thing you have to remember is the frequency or time period of this voltage source. Now as you can see, this voltage changes its direction when the particle comes from here to here, and again it comes from here to here. So the total time taken by the particle will be, the time period of this circle will be the time period of the voltage source. So the voltage source time period can be written as T is equals to 2 pi m divided by qv. Again particle was here, till this point the magnetic electric field was in this direction, particle comes here, electric field also becomes in this direction, then again particle comes here, electric field again in this direction. So when the particle completes one circle, the electric field or potential is also changing its direction completely. So here the time period or frequency you can find from here, the frequency of the voltage source will be 1 upon T. So these are the formula which you have to remember. You have to remember what is the working principle of cyclotron and what is the construction of cyclotron, and these formulas, what will be the frequency of the voltage source or time period of the voltage source, final kinetic energy of the particle, and radius or kinetic energy increase in each turns. So now with this we are going to see what are the limitation of cyclotron. So you can write limitation of cyclotron. The first limitation of cyclotron is it can only accelerate charged particle, it cannot accelerate the uncharged particle. So the first limitation of cyclotron is it can only accelerate charged particle, it cannot be used to accelerate uncharged particle. Second limitation, see we have said that between the disc there is magnetic field, and between the in the gap between the disc there is no magnetic field, which is very difficult to maintain. You cannot have a magnetic field in very limited space. If you are creating a magnetic field which is constant, the magnetic field makes closed loop, so it is not possible to keep the magnetic field between the D completely 0. So you can write in simpler word, maintaining constant magnetic field between the D is difficult. Maintaining constant magnetic field between the D is difficult. Third limitation is, see we have written the time period of the charged particle and time period of voltage source is both is equal. So here I can write 2 pi m divided by q into b. So this is the time period of the particle, and this is also the time period of the voltage source. Now, if the voltage source time period and the time period of charged particle is same, then only you can say this cyclotron is going to accelerate the charged particle. So if the time period of the particle and time period of voltage source is not equal, then you cannot charge this thing, because there will be a lag between the when the charge reaches at the between the D's and when it enters the D's. So here the time period, this is I can write time period of voltage source, and this will be the time period of the particle. Time period of the particle will again be 2 pi m divided by QB. So we choose a voltage source which have this value. So our voltage source time period is fixed, but if you see here time period of the particle depends on 2 pi mass q and b. So here, as the particle is accelerating, its velocities keep on increasing. If velocity is increasing, charge remains same, magnetic field remains same, but mass changes with velocity. We have seen this thing in class 11th, that mass depends on the velocity of the particle. So if you are taking a particle which is very small, in a very short period of the time it is going to acquire very high velocity, and if it acquires very high velocity, its mass is going to change. So the time period of the particle and time period of this voltage source is not going to be equal, so it will be difficult to accelerate that kind of particle. So here which kind of particle I am talking about? I am talking about a particle which has very low mass, which is electron. So you don't need to remember this what I have said, you just need to remember the statement which I am going to say now. It is very difficult to accelerate electron from the cyclotron. It is very difficult to accelerate electron from the cyclotron, because as the velocity of electron increases, the mass of electron also changes. Hence the time period of particle and time period of voltage source, the time period of particle and time period of voltage source are not equal, and it is difficult to accelerate the electrons. So 3 limitation in the short, if I want to tell you 3 limitation of cyclotron. First limitation, it can only be used to accelerate charged particle. In charged particle also there is another limitation, that you cannot accelerate electrons. And third limitation is maintaining magnetic field, constant magnetic field between the D is difficult. So this is the cyclotron. Second application of magnetic force is velocity selector. Again in these you don't need to remember what are the construction of these kind of instrument, you just finally need to remember what are the formula and what is the principle. For your board exams they can ask you the cyclotron. So second heading is velocity selector. Now as the name itself suggests that you want to separate particle which have a particular velocity from the other particle. So velocity selector is used to separate particles having a definite velocity from other particles. So now we are going to see the principle of this one. Now principle of this one is simple, that if electric field is opposite to V cross B and magnitude of electric field is equals to VB sin theta, then net Lorentz force on the particle is 0, which means motion of the particle will be straight line motion. So we have seen earlier what is Lorentz force and when it is 0. So if the total Lorentz force on a particle is 0, and so then the particle's motion is going to be straight line. So the velocity selector works on the principle of net Lorentz force equals to 0. So in velocity selector the construction is, you have a wall, in the wall there is a small hole here and magnetic field is in the inward direction. Now if the particles, suppose there are different particles, they have different velocity, I want a particle which has a velocity v. So there are different particles entering this thing and I want the particle which have a particular velocity v, I want only those particles to pass through this hole and I can collect all of those particles in this container. So I will have particles which, or I can use this container to further use these particles in another experiment. Now, so what do I do is, Here the velocity of the particle is v, and I want those particles to move on a straight line. This particle will only move in a straight line when the total Lorentz force on them is 0. So, here to find the Lorentz force, suppose this is the velocity of the particle is in this direction, magnetic field is in this direction. So, I can write V cross B is in inward direction, sorry, V cross B is upward direction. So, if I apply a electric field which is in the downward direction, again the construction is slightly complicated. You have a wall, there is a hole in the wall, and you can collect all those particles, or you can use them for further experiment. You want the particle which have a particular velocity. Now, you can only collect these particles when these particles passes through this hole. These particles will pass through this hole only when they are moving on a straight line. If you are only using magnetic field, then magnetic field will change the direction of velocity. But if you are using magnetic field and electric field, there is a special situation. In that situation, total Lorentz force on the particle will be 0 and it will move on a straight line. So, here I can say that electric field should be in the downward direction, magnetic field in inward direction, and velocity should be in this direction. So, the condition for velocity selector is velocity is perpendicular to magnetic field, which is perpendicular to the electric field. So, all of them are mutually perpendicular to each other in velocity selector. From this, what should be the magnitude of the electric field? Magnitude of electric field, I can write E is equals to VB sin theta. Here theta is the angle between velocity and magnetic field. As you can see here, magnetic field and velocity are perpendicular to each other, so sin theta will be 90. So, here V is equals to E by B. So, by choosing the appropriate value of electric field and magnetic field, you can select the particle which have a particular velocity. Magnitude of velocity will be this. So, of this velocity, if you want to collect the particle, accordingly adjust the electric field and magnetic field, and you can select the particles which have particular velocity. So, this is velocity selector. In this one, you have to just remember two statements. First statement is, in velocity selector, velocity, magnetic field and electric field are perpendicular to each other. All of three are perpendicular to each other, and the magnitude of velocity is given by E by B. Third application is mass spectrometer or mass spectroscopy. Now, in mass spectroscopy, what do? We try to separate the isotope. So, mass spectrometer is a device or instrument which separate the isotopes of a element. Next thing is principle. Now, mass spectrometer works on the principle that radius of a particle, when it is entering the magnetic field perpendicular to the magnetic field, the radius of the particle is given by mv by qv. So, if the mass of the particle is different, radius is also going to be different. So, here also this works on the principle that if the particle is entering the magnetic field perpendicular to the magnetic field, velocity perpendicular to the magnetic field, then radius of that circle which it is going to undergo is dependent on mass of the particle. And you know that isotopes have same charge, but their masses are different. So, in mass spectrometer, again you have magnetic field which is in the inward direction, and here there are different particle, charges on the particle is same because they are isotopes, and velocity of all the particle is also same. You can use velocity selector to make the velocity of all the particles equal. So, here you have different isotopes, so which means there are different particles, which means their masses are different. So, you have m1, m2 and so on. Charge on all the particles is same, velocity of all the particles is also same, and magnitude of magnetic field for all the particles will also be same. So, as the particles are entering the magnetic field, velocity is in this direction, magnetic field in inward direction. So, particle will undergo a circular motion in the upward direction. If they are positive and if they are negative, they will undergo diagonal direction. So, the particle undergoes a radius like this, and you keep a container here, so you can collect these particles. So radius of the particle can be written as mv divided by qv. Here velocity of all the particle is same, charge on all the particle is same, magnetic field for all the particle is same. So if mass of the particle is different, radius is also going to be different, and here you can say radius is directly proportional to the mass of the particle. So more is the mass, more will be the radius. So here the particles will go in different radiuses, and you keep different containers. So suppose I am assuming m1 is greater than m2 and so on. So here you will see m1 will be here, m2 will be collected here. So this is the principle of mass spectrometer, and that's how mass spectrometer works. As your NEET exam point of view and for your board exam point of view, this topic is not that important, but finally you are going to see this same principle in atomic structure. So while studying atomic structure, you can see the application of mass spectrometer. There you will see Bainbridge mass spectrometer. In that one, it works on the same principle. So I have covered this part here. In your NEET exam, you don't need to worry about this part. So we have seen what is magnetic force, special cases of magnetic force. Then we have seen different application of magnetic force. We have seen 3 application. First one was cyclotron, second is velocity selector, and third one is mass spectroscopy or mass spectrometer. Now we are going to see force on a current carrying wire. So you have a magnetic field, and in the magnetic field you have, it can be in any direction. The current carrying wire placed in the magnetic field is carrying a current I. So to find the force on this one, I can assume this wire is made up of small length. So I am going to assume this length is dl. Now in your current electricity, you have seen this formula, I is equals to NEAVD. Here N is the number density, E is the charge on the electron, here is area of the cross section of the wire, and Vd is drift velocity. Now as you can see here, the charge is moving in this direction because electrons are moving in the opposite direction, or if you want to say positive charge is moving in this direction. So here drift velocity will be in this direction, and here I can write N. N is the number of particles divided by volume of this. And volume of this part I can write A into dl. So from here total number of charge can be written as N into V, which will be equals to N A dl. I hope you remember from your current electricity that the number density is given by number of particles per unit volume. So from here total number of particles I can write N into V. From here this is the volume of the wire. So here I have considered this very small wire. So cross sectional area of this wire is A, and the length of this wire is dl. So volume will be A into dl. So these are the number of particles which are moving here. Next thing, as the particles, electrons are moving in this direction, so I can say the total charge. Total charge will be N into E, because number of particles are N, and on each particle there is a E charge. So total charge here is N into E. So I have total charge, magnetic field is B. Force on a force on a charge can be written as Q V cross B. Here charge is N into E, and N can be written as N A dl. So I can write this thing as N A E dl. Here velocity will be drift velocity, which is Vd cross B. Now this dl into Vd, suppose the particle is moving in this direction by velocity Vd, total distance is dl. So total distance is dl. So from here I can write total time taken dt. Time taken will be dl divided by Vd. So I can write this thing as dl divided by Vd. From here dl can be written as Vd into dt. Okay, we don't need this thing. You can derive this thing from here also. See, here you can see NaEVD. NaEVD can be written as the current. So here I can write the total force on the particle will be F is equals to I dl cross B. So this is the very small force on this. You have to cut lot of part here. So next we are going to see force on a current carrying wire. So we have seen force on a moving charge, application of that thing. Now we are going to see force on a current carrying wire in magnetic field. So here suppose there is magnetic field, you can assume it in any direction. I am assuming magnetic force is in the inward direction, and you have placed a wire. In that wire current flowing is I, and I want to find the force on this wire. So to find the force on this wire, what I do, I assume that there is very small element, length of this small element is dl, and cross sectional area of this wire is A, magnitude of magnetic field is B. Now in your current electricity chapter, you have seen current in a wire can be written as NeAVD. Here N is the number density, E is the charge on the electron, A is the area of the cross section, and Vd is the drift velocity of the charged particle. So from here I can write N is equals to total number of particles divided by volume of the wire. So here N is the total number and small n is the number density of the charged particle. Now, so here in this small section I can write number of particles will be N into V, which can be written as N into A into dl. So these are the number of particles, number of charged particle in this small section. Now in this small section these are the number of particles, so total charge in this section will be NeA dl, because total number of charge I can write N into E, because number of particles are N and charge on each and every particle is E. So the total charge is N into E. So I have this much charge which is NeA dl, which is moving in downward direction. I am assuming that positron is moving in this direction. So here they are moving with a velocity of Vd, and you know that force on a moving charge can be written as, so I can say a very small force on this small cross section can be written as Q, which is this NeA dl V cross B. Force on a moving charge can be written as Q V cross B. So here total charge in this very small section is this, and all of the charges are moving with this velocity, and magnetic field is this. So the very small force on this small section will be this. Now here I can write this part NeAVD as I. So here the total small force on this section will be I dl cross B, and if you want to find the total force will be integration of I dl cross B. So this is the formula for magnetic force on a moving current carrying wire in a magnetic field. Here dl is this very small cross section and B is the magnetic field. If you want to find the total force, do the integration. So the magnetic force on a current carrying wire is given as integration dl cross B. Here again, if you want to find the direction, you have to again do the cross product. While doing the cross product, you can use both the rules. For direction, you have right hand thumb rule and right hand palm rule. In right hand thumb rule, you keep your fingers in the direction of the current, curl it towards the magnetic field, thumb will give you the direction of magnetic force. And in right hand palm rule, thumb in the direction of the current, fingers in the direction of magnetic field, and palm will give you the direction of force. So these are the ways to find the direction of magnetic force on a current carrying wire. There is another law which is called as Fleming's left hand rule. Now in Fleming's left hand rule, you have to use your left hand. So what you do is you keep your hand like this, where your thumb, index finger and middle finger are perpendicular to each other. Now if you keep this finger in the direction of magnetic field and this finger in the direction of current, then this finger will give you the direction of magnetic force. Again, to find the direction of force on a current carrying wire in magnetic field, you have two laws. From this formula you can say that the direction can be found out by right hand thumb rule or right hand palm rule. In your book they might mention this also as another law to find the direction of magnetic force on a current carrying wire. In that one you have to take your left hand. Remember, these two are right hand rules and this is left hand rule. So you take your left hand, in the left hand you have to arrange your fingers and thumbs like this. This index finger, if you keep the index finger in the direction of magnetic field and the middle finger in the direction of the current, then the thumb will give you the direction of magnetic force. So here this will be magnetic force, this is the magnetic field, this will be current and this will be the force. Remember, this is your left hand. Again, this is just for your board exams. In the NEET exam or wherever you want to find the direction, always try to use right hand palm rule because it is the easiest way to use. So one more law to find the direction of magnetic force on a current carrying wire. So now we will see what happens if the magnetic field is uniform. So current carrying wire in uniform magnetic field. So the force can be written as integration I dl cross B. Here magnetic field is constant, current is also constant, so I can write this total integration will be F is equals to I L vector cross B vector. By this time you should be familiar that if this is constant, I can take it outside. The total integration will be integration dl, and the total integration dl will be the capital L. L is the length of the wire when you are joining it from end to end. So this is the force on a current carrying wire when it is kept in a uniform magnetic field. Remember, when the magnetic field is non-uniform, you have to do the integration. And if the magnetic field is uniform, then you don't need to do any integration, you just can find the effective length of the wire and you can do this thing. So with this, and today I am going to stop here. In the next class we are going to see these different cases where you have to find the magnetic force on a current carrying wire. Again, revise these things and remember this thing in this chapter. Formulas are fairly easy. There are too many cases and the direction of magnetic force and magnetic field is difficult to find because you have to use various kind of laws like right hand palm rule and so on. So again, revise these right hand palm rule and see the formula of magnetic force on a current carrying wire. We will continue from this in the next class. Thank you.